Welcome to today's Automotive Fleet webinar, Real-World Stories from the Road. Industry experts share lessons learned and best practices for fleet efficiency and safety, presented by Lytx. I'm Martin Ramju, Managing Editor for Fleet, Trucking, and Transportation Group at Bobbitt, and I'll be your moderator for today's event. We encourage you to ask questions during the webinar at any point, and we will try to address them all. If we do not get to yours, you will be contacted by email with a response after the event. I am joined by our speaker experts today, Jeff Martin, Vice President of Global Sales Strategy at Lytx, Sean Mandel, Vice President of Safety and Risk Management at Waste Connections Incorporated, and Kevin Kelly, Safety and Health Director at Smart Care Equipment Solutions. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Now tell us a little bit more about your professional backgrounds, and we'll start with you, Jeff.
Well, thank you, Martin. It's a pleasure to join everybody today. I've been with Lytx last year, serving in a capacity that allows me to work with executives, both current customers and prospects, and really the opportunity to share best practices and thought leadership opportunities. And this is a perfect subject around taking advantage of technology to get to that next level. Prior to my time at Lytx, I did take almost a year off in retirement after 25 years at Waste Management, where I served as VP of Safety, and prior to that, Director of Operations. So great career opportunity at WM for 25 and 5 years at BFI prior to that. So 30 in the industry through sales, operations, and safety. Thanks for the opportunity today.
All right, good to have you, Sean.
Hi, thank you. This is Sean Mandel. As mentioned, I'm the Vice President of Safety and Risk for Waste Connections. Been in the industry coming up on 28 years now. Again, started my career similar to Jeff with a company known as BFI as an environmental health and safety manager, but remained in that environmental health and safety role and capacity throughout my career. And really looking forward to today and the discussions. Thanks.
All right, Kevin.
Hello, everyone. Kevin Kelly. I've been with Smart Care Equipment Solutions, which was formerly a division of Ecolab, for over 6 years now, and prior to that, 6 years as part of the Ecolab division, leading safety efforts. Prior to that, my industry experience has been across all formats for the most part: supply chain, retail, distribution, manufacturing. I've led safety for 3M, Office Max, Sears, and Ingersoll Rand most recently, as well as Anderson Windows. So I've had a lot of varied experience. I'm really excited to be part of this call and to be as part of the Smart Care team, as we've formed our own stand-up company going on a little over 6 years now, and we've been with Lytx for 4.
All right, well, it sounds like we've got the best possible lineup for all the topics that we're going to get into. This webinar will look at proven ways to overcome fleet challenges. We will present 5 key tips to make your fleet management strategy more efficient, see how the hidden costs of unsafe driving can burden your fleet, and then share some real-world lessons from the road that can provide fleet managers with some ideas for best practices. I'd like to begin with slide 4 here, with some of the common challenges that are facing fleets, and there sure are plenty of them out there in today's environment. To all the panelists, what are you seeing as some of the top fleet areas that are requiring attention? Why don't we just start with you, Jeff?
Well, I think one of the things that we're seeing today is the demand from all stakeholders at companies. Safety is first and foremost. Nobody's going to argue with that. But what we're seeing and what we're excited about is you have various stakeholders now looking for a best data opportunity. It's not big data, but best data. And what we're seeing is whether it's logistics, customer service, dispatch, certainly fleet maintenance, certainly safety, operations, but you've got others as well, including finance, that want to have better data to make better decisions real time.
Now that involves kind of a broad area with vehicle tracking, maintenance and fuel costs, optimizing routes. Sean and Kevin, what are you seeing as some of the challenges from your end?
One of the challenges we're having at SmartCare, and again, I came from a larger, what we call a mothership as Ecolab, so I can see both sides of it. When we stand up and form our own company, resource constraints are definitely a challenge because we have a lot more tactical work in the fleet department than we have people to handle it. Whether it's registrations, insurance issues, making sure we've got the vehicle rotations that we unfortunately have due to accidents or other events where we're changing out vehicles. There's a lot of what I call musical chairs, and really understanding and having a good firm hold on the administration of all that is key, because our data is only as good as its integrity. And so if we have garbage in, we're going to get garbage out. So we really focus on having the right hands managing that fleet and ensuring, most importantly, that we are communicating with operations in almost a purely non-four-wall building world where everyone is remote, 1,400 field technicians and growing. We've got to make sure we have the communication from corporate to operations and really having that two-way partnership so we can have the best data and the best tracking of all of our various devices and vehicles.
Sean, what are you seeing? All right. We can certainly move on now to the meat of the presentation, which is the 5 tips that we mentioned at the top of the webinar.
Yeah, I would agree with Jeff. Yeah, I would agree with Jeff and Kevin. I think they were right on point. One of the things that we are seeing is that the MVAI technology, certainly it has taken our safety and the mitigation of risk to another level. And so
I think we're having a little bit of audio pause here with Sean. We can certainly come back to your earlier points. Why don't we go ahead and just move on to the 5 tips, which of course forms the core of this webinar. And I know you have a lot to offer in that area. With regards to tip number 1, we're still seeing a surprisingly high percentage of fleets without video telematics. Wanted to know if you could tell us about how video telematics provides a much wider and deeper picture of daily operations compared to just GPS dots on a map. Want to start with that one, Kevin?
I can speak to that one, Martin. Excuse me. When we formed our company, we had to have a really good idea of where our vehicles are. I'll never forget our VP of operations saying, I cannot manage this business unless I know where all of our vehicles are. But it was more than that. We had to have data. We had to help the dispatch operations. So we have one 4-wall building besides corporate, and that's our dispatch operations in Indianapolis, Indiana. And what those fine folks are doing is trying to track all of our technicians, where they are, where they're going, where customers need them for hot and cold services in the commercial hospitality industry. We unfortunately could not have an ROI for our video telematics solution solely based on safety. We had to incorporate hard business, and it needed to impact that dispatch operations in the right way. We needed to have fleet tracking. We needed to have the ability to eventually integrate from a more laborious dispatch process into what we now use as automated dispatching. And that's a partnership that we've had between that software, IFS, that many of you may have heard, Power BI, and then Lytics backend data, not front of the house data. That partnership, that triangle there, really formed that effective dispatching solutions. And that's where it started with us with Lytics, and we eventually grew to have those various software elements talk to each other 4 years later and be much more effective in how we route our technicians.
Yeah, well said. I couldn't agree more. And that's kind of my point earlier, is the stakeholders are more than just safety today, and certainly fleet maintenance. And that's exciting. That's exciting for business, exciting for technology, and exciting for companies to take that next level opportunity. I think I had mentioned earlier, Kevin had mentioned, dispatch and customer service reps, especially those reps being able to, have those one-call resolutions with customers on the phone, whether it's ETAs, disputes, confirmations, you name it. Putting those departments in a winning position with the customer is huge, which puts our drivers in a winning position, right? But I think one of the other great opportunities is, with the advancement now with geofence, you can basically do an ROI on your job sites, especially important for field service companies, so that you can get a true ROI and return on your performance and understand exactly, where your opportunities are for improvement, especially around asset management and assurance. You got the right vehicles, the right places being utilized in the right capacity, besides maintenance and retirement. So there's a lot more stakeholders in the game today that are looking for that best data to make better decisions. I think it also puts the managers in a great position and a perspective, whether you're talking about better customer service, efficiency, fleet maintenance, or of course safety. When you can give them that best data where they can have the right conversation with the right person at the right time for the right reason, it goes a whole lot more effectively and credibly when it's certainly justified and credible from the driver or technician's standpoint as well.
Sean, I see you nodding your head. You have anything to add?
No, I would completely agree. The fleet tracking capabilities, as I mentioned earlier, the MVAI, it really has all come together under this singular platform and has enabled us to obviously, first and foremost, move that safety needle in a positive direction, but also, as both Kevin and Jeff had mentioned, from a productivity, quality of service, and quality of data, it has been a game changer.
Mm-hmm. Of course, one of the big benefits of video telematics is it certainly enhances the bottom line and leads to financial efficiencies. What are some anecdotes that any of you can share with us on how video telematics has transformed fleets?
I would say in my arena, one of the biggest benefits is we had a false sense of understanding of how good or how bad our drivers were. We really needed to understand, and no matter how much industry experience we may have had in operations and field service, et cetera, the video telematics really levels the playing field, helps us understand our gaps. I don't know how we would have done our level of performance without it. We were using what I used to joke as 1990s techniques like 1-800 How's My Driving or behind the wheel training, which was a laborious once a year, administrative nightmare to try to route all of the different kind of routing, in fact, try to route all of our drivers to the appropriate classes at the appropriate times while keeping in mind that our customer comes first and we need to have their service and equipment downtime to be a priority. I don't know how we could have done that. No amount of awareness topics, in my experienced opinion, could really replicate the real world reveal of what video telematics has done for us, whether it's back-end data or front-end with a supervisor having a constructive conversation on how to improve behaviors. It's all about the people. We're in a high turnover industry, no surprise in field service, and we can't afford to lose people while at the same time we have high safety standards. So what does that mean? That means coaching for improvement, not carrot versus stick. Coaching for improvement and changing behaviors for the long term, not just to meet a metric. We knew that it was going to be an investment that was going to pay off in the long term, not a plug-and-play solution to look good on a board deck for the following quarter. But long-term wise, are we in the right direction or we're making consistent progress? So that's really been the biggest benefit for us is just think long-term, set up your resources to support whatever initiative you have, and then you'll be set up for success. If you don't do both of those things, it's going to be a tough one.
Sean and Jeff, what have you observed from the fleet end in terms of actually deploying the telematics and the results that follow?
Yeah, again, I would agree with Kevin. We have been a partner with Lytx for 15 years. Our initial deployments began in 2008, and now as an organization, we've got 15,000 commercial vehicles out there on the roads. And to Kevin's point, I don't think we really understood the magnitude of the at-risk behaviors that were occurring out there under the older platforms. Now having that insight on the MVAI side, it's just brought to the forefront those at-risk behaviors like the rolling stops and the diminishing clearance and the lane departures and so forth. And so I can say for certainty that we as an organization are not only safer, not only more productive, but we're providing a better service to our customers and constituents as a result.
Yeah, Sean, I think you and Kevin said it perfectly, Martin, because really, I think, especially knowing Sean and his history and Waste Connections progression over the years, there's many companies like Kevin and Sean's that are experiencing what I'll call a total value realization, in that they've done a great job in establishing that core value of safety and building trust from the leadership on throughout the organization. And when you develop that trust with the frontline employees, managers, and so forth, and you really start to knuckle down on that core value of safety, really opens up a whole lot of doors to have better conversations, solutions, ideas from those frontline employees who are so valuable. Their insights, and they've got all the answers if we just stop and listen, And I think what we're seeing today is today's best companies are taking advantage of that. And those same frontline employees are weighing in heavily on the customer service side, the efficiency side, on the fleet maintenance side. You're seeing where solutions and opportunities are being realized because there's better teamwork, because there's better trust and better overall leadership. And that really makes a huge difference when you've got better data to absolutely drive that continuous improvement.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's definitely a lot of results there to dissect, but we better get to tip number 2. This pertains to fuel costs, which of course have spiked in the past year, and maintenance costs, which are tied to inflation in the supply chain. Overall, what can fleet managers do to reduce some of these persistent costs, especially in today's environment?
One thing, Martin, that we've got to do is be aware of what these costs really are. That seems so counterintuitive because you think we would be, but one of the benefits of a more innovative strategy that's coming into a lot of companies now is ESG, environmental sustainability, and it goes beyond just safety and the environment, and also looking at operations and a lot of what we call the people process and the human resources side. But on the fleet manager's prerogative and his purview, really, we've got to be able to understand what we're spending. So as part of our initiative in this whole process and program that we're going to have, we're going to be collecting fuel data and feeding it. We're going to start small, just like showing your TRIR for injury rates. We start there, and then we move into advanced stuff like lost time and near miss and those kinds of things. We start small with the fuel and really understand what we're going through on a monthly basis. What is our mileage? We're going to be looking at that. That's great for injury and accident tracking purposes. So when we have someone who gets injured, is there any correlation between how many miles are on the road because that leads to fatigue, or is it just a vehicle accident rate? So the fleet managers are understanding that we're going to start with fuel, and then we're going to move to mileage, and then we're going to build on there as we report for our ESG scores for the future, because that's really where the direction that this industry is going. We've got to report that to our board now as we grow from this tiny little mercenary group that started, 5-6 years ago to a small mothership. We've got to be more strategic and less reactive. But it does start with good data, whether we're talking about fleet tracking, when we went with Lytics for the very first time in 2018, or when we look to starting to really track fuel consumption and then look for better ways to conserve and route technicians for improved fuel economy and efficiency for our customers.
What have you seen, Jeff, in terms of usage in fleets and the application?
Well, I think that Kevin raised a great point. They've set their sights and their goals on an opportunity, and they're going about it in a crawl, walk, run fashion. I think that's what the better companies today are doing. They're also taking a thematic approach in that they want to drive awareness, increase knowledge, So when drivers and technicians, when they understand how, in fact, they are impacting fuel, whether it's following or adhering to a idle policy, or simply trip compliance, route compliance, if you will, that those things do matter and everybody plays a part in the continuous improvement. And that's really a huge opportunity. So making sure that you've got simple yet understandable goals and objectives when it comes to better fleet maintenance, but also measurable and certainly driving the awareness overall. I also think there's a huge opportunity, and you see a lot of the better companies today doing it, but they've really spent a good deal of time making sure that the DVIR process is one that is taken to heart, that it is time well spent, and that it is worth perhaps a best practice of having a post-trip inspection lane in the evenings or the end of shift to help coach those drivers, even those rookie drivers, or even the veteran drivers who may not be fundamentally sound in their post-trip inspections. How do we get them to pick up their game so that we can be better at the outset tomorrow? That drives also the PM part, because as we all know, when the technician sees the road technicians and everyone else doing their part on the DVIR side, you get some pretty good momentum, because we've all seen, unfortunately, when it can break down as well. So I think that, making sure that people understand what the goals and objectives are, as Kevin mentioned, you've got some simple KPIs that you're following and monitoring, but then you're also making sure people are aware about the progress or need for better progress. Sean?
All right.
Yeah, as a publicly traded company, we have a responsibility and stewardship, not just to our shareholders, but also, of course, to our team members, to the environment. Kevin brought up ESG and how that, for certainly larger organizations and really all organizations, but certainly those that are publicly traded, have a responsibility and are expected to be managing and looking at this information, and us being able to do the simple things like reviewing for hard stops, fast accelerations, that type of information has been instrumental in us moving the needle in the right direction. I just can't think of an area of the business that we have not been able to benefit from by this technology. It's a big investment, don't get me wrong, with the number of units that we have deployed. But I would say that it has certainly shown a positive ROI.
There's also the aspect of optimizing duty cycles and routes. How does that play into reducing the gas guzzling and as well as easing some of the maintenance demands?
Well, I think go ahead, please, Kevin.
Yeah, no problem. I was just going to add with that, Martin, we have technicians, our team members that are identified as hot and cold. So they would be working on refrigeration and HVAC system at a Costco, or they might be working on the hot side. They're fixing a fryer at your favorite fast food restaurant. So our dispatch operations, understanding where people's skill sets are, is better able to route them more efficiently to where the customer needs are. So we're not sending the wrong technician for the job. And by design and by default, also, we are going to reduce a lot of wasted fuel, because we're going to send people where they need to go one time to make them more efficient and improve their utilization. We have utilization goals so that we can be the utmost efficiency and get to our customers in X amount of stops per day. And that really, this technology comes in handy. It really gives us really a backbone in being able to ensure we've got integrity with our data, because even though auto dispatching sounds really provocative and cutting edge and cool, we have to have the analytics data behind it and traditional fleet tracking to be able to ensure that that route is truly where we want to send our team members. So we've got to have that is really the backbone of our program.
Yeah, Kevin raises a great opportunity. That logistics partnership with those frontline techs, drivers, is really essential, because they've got ideas about how to remove wasteful steps in a day. And so whether it's on road steps or at customer, they've got ideas, once again, if we listen to them. I think another opportunity is putting dispatch in a better position to understand what's happening on the roadways. The fleet tracking opportunity gives you the opportunity to see live how vehicles are tracking, but also if there's congestion, incident, what have you, to reroute. And especially now with the adaptation now of weather alerts, we can stop traffic from going into certain zones, if you will, where there's going to be inclement weather or perhaps roadways shut down. So you start to put those drivers in a better winning position, not only because of that trip or that route, but ultimately to save expenses and besides safety.
So I'd like to get on to tip number 3. As we know, 2 key pillars for a more fleet efficient operation are: how do you build a culture of safety with drivers while empowering your technicians? What are some of the results you've observed among drivers and technicians in fleets that you're familiar with?
I'll take that one to start, Martin. What I see, recognition, I can't tell you how many times executives as well as myself have said over the years, we need to do a better job of recognizing people. We say it, we admit it. They always say admitting it's the hardest step. I disagree. Doing something about it's the hardest step. With this system, we are able to really recognize and appreciate those technician field members. Everybody's level of what they like and don't like for recognition is different. But I would say one consistency, besides getting a free name your object or gift card or whatever, much more importantly for the broad stroke characterization of our technician in the field, is they just like to be recognized. It's free. It costs nothing. It's efficient. It's effective, but it's got to be genuine. So having the data to genuinely recognize someone really improves morale. Again, in a high turnover industry where oftentimes we'll lose people to chase dollars, we want them to feel connected, right? So you're recognizing their behavior, but you want them to feel connected because they're so disconnected being in a completely remote-based job where they're oftentimes, they don't see their coworkers but once a month. So they see their customers and that's it. We need to make them feel part of the family. And that goes with genuine, authentic recognition, which the platform helps provide for.
Jeff, were you going to add?
I don't have much more to say to that because he hit it spot on. I mean, you go back to that building that trust. It opens up so many doors. Obviously, techs and drivers, statistically, there was a recent study said that besides pay, that was a number 2 opportunity was respect. And who could argue with that? So when those managers do such a great job of empowering and building that trust, it opens up so many other doors, obviously, and so many different benefits. One of the things with the recognition that Kevin brought up, it's such a great opportunity is it could be with safety, it could be with efficiency, customer service. One of the things that I like as a best practice, it's called pair share, and it's where you allow that employee to stand up amongst other employees, whether it's once a week or once a month, to honor someone who did something well. There's so many good things. It's almost like that rule of thumb: do 2 recognitions for every 1 accountability. But the other opportunity that I see as a best practice is when you coach somebody for a safety behavior, that opportunity, try to find something they did well in that 12-second event or didn't do in that 12-second event. A great example is following too close. May have been a critical distance that where they did in fact brake and brake safely, and they did avert certainly a collision. But asking and thanking that driver, saying thank you for not being on your cell phone, because I'm not so sure you would have been able to stop. What do you think? And you kind of bring light to a serious discussion topic, but at the same time, you're telling that driver you care about him. And I'm really, really glad you weren't on your cell phone during that event because the circumstances may have been entirely different. So that's a great opportunity to mix in some recognition and a pat on the back while asking for continuous improvement.
Mm-hmm. Well, with video telematics producing so much data, what are some specific data points that can be routed to the drivers and then can be routed to the technicians that help them do a more informed job, that help them make better decisions?
I would say, Martin, the app is really paramount for effective technician engagement. Let's be honest, when we set up a true coaching session, not a one-way email sent, hey, I need you to watch Heartbreaking, that's not effective coaching. When we have that district manager contact that technician team member and set up a Teams call, for example, because you do have to have he or she having a look at that video and understanding. Otherwise, we're back to the pre-video telematics days of coaching on breadcrumbs 2 weeks later, which is incredibly inefficient and ineffective, most importantly. You have to have them see that to really have that effective 360 degree turn there for engagement. So having that app allows them to more efficiently see their videos, take better control, demystify the big brother myth, and understand that what we see is exactly what they see and vice versa. And when we have that phone conversation, because oftentimes we can't geographically get to every team member we'd like to coach in person, they can say, yes, I reviewed that video. I've collected my thoughts. This is some of the reasoning behind my behavior there, good or bad. And we can learn from this. We can put in effective coaching notes and end that call with some real confidence that that behavior is going to either improve or reduce, depending on whether it was good or bad. So the app has been tremendous. Techs are younger now as we hire the newer generation coming out of schools. They are very tech savvy with devices, and we want to give them that power. So it really has been a benefit for us.
All right, let's get on to tip number 4. And just so that the audience knows, we do have some audio video issues with Sean, and we're working on getting him back into the loop as soon as possible. With tip number 4, as we all know, customer expectations have multiplied with the prevalence of technology. You see this everywhere with smartphones. People want it now. How can fleet operations that serve customers ensure they deliver a seamless and efficient experience that boosts a brand?
Hey, Martin, this is Kevin. Just to clarify, okay, I see tip number 4 now. So while Sean gets that worked out, I can speak to this. So our customers are very reactive. They work in hospitality and tourism. Every commercial kitchen and restaurant in America is who we serve, and we're the largest in the nation. They have issues that come up during lunchtime, rush hour. These things don't happen at 9 at night or at 2 in the morning, where we might be able to come in with less of a crowd of kitchen staff and be able to troubleshoot and work on our equipment, their equipment, and stuff that we've just had under warranty. So really, we've got to communicate. We've got apps that we have. We've got, Power BI, like I said, with IFS. We have asset tags on equipment so that we can scan and give that customer a real predictive and holistic assessment of what reactively we've done and proactively we see as potential equipment downtime issues that they're going to have if they don't invest in X, Y, or Z. That type of holistic tracking, whether it's routing of the vehicle, whether it's the tracking of the asset or that equipment we're working on, really is all due based upon customer needs and demands that we predict and they react to. We got to fix them either way. There's always going to be something that goes down. So we have to react, but we have to be less reactive. And having our customers top of mind by ensuring that we have effective communication, whether it's a ETA, whether it's a part ETA versus a vehicle with technician ETA, and understanding of what's going on there, really the customers appreciate that, because there's oftentimes a lot of emergencies, quote unquote, that come up in the hospitality and tourism industry, and we have to be able to react to that proactively and reactively.
Jeff, are there any instances where you can share that give examples of how the day was won for a customer, how the data helped enhance a customer experience?
Yeah, I think Kevin raised a great point, because anytime when you can meet and exceed the customer's expectations and delight them, we all know how that feels when we're on the other side of that equation, right? Well, I think the other thing is that where I've seen it, Martin, is where we're able to put, dispatch, logistics, customer service, certainly our frontline drivers, technicians in a winning position so that they can actually do that with a customer. They start to feel that momentum of great customer service and what that looks like, sounds like, and feels like, because they all rose to the occasion. I think that's one. I mean, one of my favorite ones used to be, being in the waste industry, was being able to respond when no one else could, being those essential providers during storms, after storms, before storms, oil spills, you name it. You were there and you figured out a way with great teamwork how to make that happen. Having fleet tracking and putting those dispatchers in a winning position makes a huge difference to the frontline operations for not only safety, but certainly service and efficiency.
All right, so I've got some good news. Even though we can't see Sean, I'm hearing that his audio is working, and I know this is a topic he could weigh in on. So, Sean, what can you add to tip number 4 about improving customer experiences?
No, I appreciate that, Martin. And, in the highly competitive waste and environmental services industry, we use this as a differentiator. Not just the technology, but how we use the technology, how we use it from a route optimization standpoint, how we use it from a risk mitigation standpoint, how we ensure that, we're providing proper service through the service verification means. It just has a myriad of customer benefits. And to be quite honest with you, when we go in for some of these contracts, or to expand in certain markets, oftentimes this is one of the differentiators for us. Just how we use it, our coaching effectiveness, the ability to Jeff's earlier point, respond to sometimes critical issues that arise. If an organization is out there and they don't have this tool, we know we are sitting in a good position to take that contract.
Do you find that being able to just give ETAs, which you were referring to, and keeping the customer in the loop as to the progress of either a delivery or a duty run, how far does that go in helping improve the experience?
Yeah, our dispatch boards, in the dispatch office, they have the fleet tracking up on the board, and they can tell in real time where the various vehicles are, and give accurate response times, which again is critical to a customer who's waiting for a 40-yard to be serviced, or who has a 6-yard front load can that they need an extra pickup on. And so, yeah, again, it's one of those critical differentiators for us.
Mm-hmm. What it really does, Martin, at the end of the day, it allows that one-stop shop for that customer that's on the phone. Because remember, dispatch can't phone the driver, right? Driver's not supposed to be on the phone, right? So you stop that, we'll call you back, we'll let you know type of thing, and you're able to give real-time information, and that's a big game changer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I certainly understand that whenever you wait for AAA and you need a battery or something, you can just monitor them on the app and know when they'll show up. Yep. I kind of like to get to tip 5 here, which sort of ties into all the previous tips. As we all know, none of these 4 tips can become reality without the advanced technology backing them up. So there are 2 key questions here. How do you pick the right technology partners, and how do you upgrade your fleet management strategy for more success? Kevin, I think you might be muted.
Yeah, well, we went through a pretty extensive RFP process, and this wasn't in 2008. It was obvious.
All right, Sean, if you can hear us, I'm going to throw this to Kevin now. I think your audio was fading out, but as soon as the audio is back, we'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, Martin,
Kevin,
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay now. Just to restate the question, in terms of picking the right technology partners and then tying that into
Martin,
a better fleet management strategy, what's the best approaches? What are some of the best approaches there?
Well, like we had said already, so many technology partners have solutions that are similar, but what differentiates them is the after the sale follow up. Okay. So everything I've been mentioning to date now on this call has really discussed that assistance that we get post sale, that we get updates, understanding improvements, whether it's the app where we started out with Lytx, there was no app. Now we have an app. Whether it's someone from Lytx coming to our dispatch team in Indianapolis and actually sitting down with them. Imagine that, flying in, sitting down and understanding our challenges better and seeing it tactically. And then most importantly, reacting to it and giving us a better solution that made us more comfortable with this product. I can't tell you how many deals I've done with all kinds of vendors and all kinds of arenas of safety, and very, very few give that level of service or even close to it post sale. So really understanding that when you're buying a shiny object, it might be good. It might fill all your needs. It might be the cheaper alternative that you can afford, but it's better than nothing. We've really got to put more value, even though it is an indirect cost or an indirect value. We've got to put that focus and emphasis on the post-sale support, that with whatever avenue you go down, to make sure that you've got a partner for as long as you want to continue to use that product and not do it yourself. We live in a very do-it-yourself world where I often joke that I go to the grocery store and I didn't realize I had to work that day because I'm self-checking and bagging and everything. And I'm not a fan of that approach, as you can imagine. So I like the idea of I'm handing you money, you provide the rest of the service and value proposition to me. And that's what we get with higher end companies like Lytx.
So Sean, is your audio cooperating again? Do you want to add to that? Okay, Jeff, you can fill the gap here.
Yeah, no problem. I not much to say after what Kevin said.
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Okay, now we can hear you, Sean. So the floor is yours.
Yeah.
So in terms of choosing technology partners, we were talking about improving the fleet management strategies. What has been your experience in seeing that?
So we went through a pretty exhaustive RFP process, not only in 2008 during the initial partnership with Lytx, but about 3 years ago when we went through the upgrade into their latest platform, which incorporates the MVAI. And they've been a great partner with us. We sat down at the table and were able to help them on the development side, go into exactly what it was that would we would be best able to utilize, whether it be from an operational standpoint or from a risk mitigation standpoint. So, we went and we looked at the service providers in that same space, and without a doubt, Lytx was the right solution for us.
All right, so we have 1 minute left on this point. Jeff, I know you were about to start some comments, and then we threw it over to Sean. So can you wrap this up with any other observations or points?
Yeah, the two gentlemen summed it up well. I think the one thing that a lot of the leaders that are on today's call realize is the effectiveness of networking. and utilizing that opportunity to ask other leaders what they're doing, how they're doing it, with whom they're partnering, and how it is in fact going. Kevin had mentioned about that post-sale partnership. Personally, that's my job for working with leaders like Kevin and Sean, but it goes far beyond that with the extended Lytics team, because it's not a one and done. We're pioneering for tomorrow today, looking for the next best opportunity to provide solutions to Waste Connections and Kevin and so many others that not only expect it, they deserve it. And so we're extremely excited about the opportunities that 2024 and beyond are presenting for us. And I want to thank Kevin and Sean for their time today.
All right, and thanks to all of you for this presentation. As is always the case with these webinars, it brings up so many other angles that we could explore further, but then time doesn't always work in our favor. But we do have some time remaining, so we'd like to answer some questions that have come in during the presentation, as well as invite the audience to still ask some questions. So I'll just start with one general one here. What best practice tips would you give fleet managers considering integrating video into their operations but are unsure where to start?
I'll go first. Start with a network, contact, reach out, ask that provider for a reference. Maybe it's out of industry. I'm a big fan of piloting. When you put the system in, as Kevin and the team had mentioned before, it's powerful how it puts drivers in a winning position where they want to self-coach in the moment, where they can self-correct. And it's not the big scary that it used to be of a black box, 20 years ago. You're seeing a better, higher appetite for safety technology, and that's certainly presenting itself.
Kevin?
I would say be very clear on what your objective is. I would use an analogy of a workout program. If you get a novice that wants to build as much muscle mass as possible and you put him or her on a strict diet that doesn't cause any weight gain, that's going to be a problem. So you got to be very clear on what your goals are. Are your goals to improve safety, to improve fleet efficiency, tracking, dispatch operations for customer demands? Be very clear what your goals are to make sure that the product serves your needs. And then I would say attend. It's tough. There is no plug and play solution, as Jeff would tell you. Go to a seminar, go to a webinar if you can't afford to go to a seminar. I go to lots of trade organizations like the American Society of Safety Engineers, National Safety Council. Get a feel for what's out there. Walk the expo floor. Ask a lot of questions, because ultimately you don't even know what you don't know if you don't have your priorities in line, your budget constraints, and understanding what this product or service will do for you. Does it meet your needs? You can't shotgun this. And I would say, even at that same time, running in parallel, decide the resource commitment you can devote to this, because there is no plug and play solution. No product, even a great one like Lytics, will do safety for you, quote unquote. It's a tremendous supplement, but you've got to have your diet in order to take the supplement. So really understand what you can commit to, and ensuring that improvement, safety, for example, this is an adage as old as time. It starts with line managers and operations. There is no one at the office, Sean, nor I, or anyone else, that can do safety in a vacuum. We are writing a prescription, and we have to help the patient take the medicine. And that involves a lot of planning and focus on execution and resource allotment. So sorry for the long answer, but I'm very passionate on that. Do it for the right reasons and prepare for it. Don't just do anything willy-nilly, as the saying goes.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you covered this during the presentation, but from the standpoint of somebody who is just getting that first video telematics system and getting used to it, what are some examples of fleet improvements or efficiencies that where they will see results right away, where they will be able to see an impact on their fleets?
Sean will probably have a better answer than I could have on this because I'm unfortunately not as well versed in all the activities our fleet department does. But one thing they saw right away was cutting down on downtime to add to our trips per day to customers. And what I mean by that is we don't have a distribution center. We don't house our parts in our technicians' garages. Although we used to many, many years ago. So we need the right part at the right time at the right price for our customers. And if they have to stop at a Fastenal or a Grainger to get that part, we want to make sure that they're in there, not standing in line, not BSing with some of their peers in the industry, spending 45 minutes waiting to get a part. We need to make sure that we have the system set up that could allow us that. And right off the bat, we saw benefits in a lot of what we called unnecessary downtime. And that's downtime our customers do not want to pay for.
Jeff, you have anything to add?
Well, I think, besides that great example, certainly frequency, severity, it usually follows after a few months of the behaviors themselves when you originally start out, when you're behavior focused. But you absolutely start to see it on the video telematics side operationally, efficiency and fleet-wise, starting with fuel, even your brakes. You can start to see the brakes trend after about 60, 90 days because drivers are, in fact, obviously using their brakes in a safer fashion, defensive driving focus now. So those are some of the things that you start to see that will trickle in. But perhaps the most exciting for me is the use of the fleet tracking by the various departments when they realize the opportunities it's now solving for them. That's exciting. That's contagious. And that's what's probably more exciting about the Lytx video safety and telematics system is there's so many departments that depend on it when they put it into full practice. And the results are really game-changing for an organization. So very exciting.
One point I'd like for us to expand on is being able to identify those patterns or trends that might lead to safety risks in the future. And not just safety risks, but of course the whole area of liability and possible bad outcomes from accidents. How does the data identify patterns that over time can prevent some of these worst case scenarios?
One of the things we've seen is we had to really air our dirty laundry and identify those skeletons in the closet early. We thought, for example, our biggest problem was quick starts or aggressive driving, when in reality it was just plain speeding. There was nothing even close. Number two was not even number two. It was very distant. So we really thought we were better in one arena than we were in others. And so even with all the, like I said, the industry experience or what we would subjectively think our technicians are doing is really not necessarily what they're doing, right? So we had to really focus on that. We thought we'd have been better. I'll just be vulnerable here for a moment. We thought we'd have been better on seatbelts. But initially, seatbelts, believe it or not, were a problem. And we're obviously not going to recognize technicians for wearing their seatbelts because that's what I call the price of admission. But we had to air it out first, really see a gut check of how bad or good we thought we were and really weren't, and then address it. So once we have that, then we could, get away with that low-hanging fruit. Then we can really hyper focus on those behaviors that lead to more near collisions besides the obvious things and address that.
Sean, if you're there, you're welcome to add.
Yeah, I think, with the nuclear verdicts that we're seeing in commercial transportation as a whole, the evidence as well as the addressing and coaching out the at-risk behavior is more powerful than ever. When on the rare occasion we are involved in an incident where we determine that there's potential exposure, we're able to, take that information and resolve the issue that much quicker. As we all know, anyone that works in risk management, the longer that potential claim is out there, the more it grows. And so just being able to give us some insight, listen, if we're at fault, let's take care of it. We're going to step up. We're going to do the right thing. We're going to address the issue. And where we're not, we're going to take a strong defensive posture, especially with the environment, the legal environment today. So I would say that's really where, on the risk side, it has been extremely beneficial for us.
All right, we've had a specific audience question come in. How do you effectively and securely distribute truck keys in a fleet to ensure smooth operations and minimize the security risks in your organization? And when I say truck keys, we can also broaden that to all types of fleet vehicles. Dan,
I'll let Sean answer that one. That might be a little more in his wheelhouse or experience.
Yeah, so along with having some physical property measures that we put into place, ensuring that we're locking the gates after hours and so forth, we have a lockbox for our keys, and they check them out along with their route tablets. So we've got a pretty secure process in place that includes everything from physical barriers like gates to camera systems to turning the key in at night so that they're in a secured area until the next work day when they're dispatched out and they're given at that time along with the route books. And it seems to be working pretty well for us.
All right, one last quick question. Role of AI in video telematics and machine learning. What's going on? What do we have to look forward to? And I'll ask one of you just to be really quick, just with 1 or 2 minutes left.
Yeah, I'll share real quick. We're really excited about pedestrian and bicyclist identification and alert. It's obviously a frontier we're all concerned about, especially with the city and residential streets. But that's one that we're very excited about for the future. Weather alert was just rolled out in the last few months, very popular for making sure that dispatch is keeping drivers safe and sound amongst the unknown or known rapidly approaching storms, or as we just had last week, a dust storm that popped up and was moving in one direction and was shutting down a major highway. Putting those drivers in a winning position, a safe position, is very rewarding, having that knowledge and ability to do so. But pedestrian and bicyclist identification through AI and alerting is very exciting opportunity.
Mm-hmm. In terms of just real quick maintenance needs, how can AI and machine learning help with identifying what are considered some of the top maintenance problems?
I would have to say, the ability to read the ECM, to pull in that information, to make in which we have very good partnerships, so that all that information is once again corralled and is utilized to the efficiency of the fleet organization for just those purposes. What the opportunities are as far as opportunities for repair.
Okay. All right. Well, Kevin unfortunately had a hard stop, and of course we could keep moving here, but that's unfortunately all the time that we have for today. For anyone who asked a question that wasn't answered, we will be following up via email to answer your questions individually. We hope that you all enjoyed today's webinar. I would like to again thank Jeff, Sean, and Kevin for today's informative presentation, and our sponsor, Lytx, who you can visit at lytx.com. I also want to mention that this webinar will be available on demand on the Automotive Fleet website at automotivefleet.com/webinars. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again here for another Automotive Fleet webinar. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.